So I've been feeling pretty lazy these past few days. So what I decided to do was just scrape the bottom of the barrel and make some lazy ass video that everyone's making, because I don't have anything else to think of right now. And we're going to be talking about recession indicators. That's how. We're pretty much at the bottom of the barrel. So yeah, and these are just things that I've noticed from my perspective, and not things that I've necessarily looked up. All right, so yeah, I guess take it with a grain of salt or a couple of grains. Maybe just dump the salt shaker onto whatever it is that you are thinking with this. Yeah. First thing I noticed was that places don't stay open until past 10 p.m. Maybe a little later, depending. Like the movies will stay. The last showing a movie will have here is 10 p.m. So I guess it'll stay open till midnight. But most places stay open until 10. Recently, like as I mentioned, I saw the warning at Pier 17, and Pier 17 closed at 10, which is unusual because you think concerts should stay open way later. A concert place should stay open way later than 10 p.m. Actually, all the warning shows I've seen have closed up around 10, so maybe it's more something that they do, but I think it's unusual because usually concerts, I think, usually stay open past 10. I guess it depends on the place that you play, but that's something that I noticed. Yeah, places just don't stay open until 9, 10 p.m. anymore. It's crazy because there were places that used to be open 24 hours. You could walk into a Walmart at 3 a.m. and get whatever it was that you wanted. Fortunately, I've never experienced this glorious thing due to becoming of age in the post-pandemic world. So yeah, and I guess it is partly a product of the pandemic, but I think with people buying and going out less, there just hasn't really been a need to stay open late anymore. So yeah. Second thing I noticed was the mall. The mall is usually very empty. Every time I go to the mall, even on the weekend, I think usually I think Saturday is like the most crowded, or like the most packed the mall will be. I have the most customers on a Saturday. But the mall is never full. I walk in and it's half empty. When I was a kid, the mall used to be packed, completely full. You could barely move around without having to try and avoid people. And now it's just, I don't want to call it a barren wasteland because that would be extreme, but it's very much like not what it used to be. There's very few people going out shopping now at the mall. I think it ties in a bit with the last point I made, which is that people aren't buying stuff as much. But I feel like the mall is like one of those places where pretty much everyone would go to, even if you were broke. But from what I've noticed recently, nobody's showing up at the mall anymore. So that was something that I thought was interesting. One of the things I noticed back in January, I go to the gym. Surprise, surprise. I know I don't look like I go to the gym, but I go to the gym a lot. And usually during January, the January gym rush, the New Year, the people who make their New Year's resolutions will show up and crowd the place for the entire month. This year, that didn't happen, or at least not as much as I thought. Really, no, there weren't many. It wasn't very crowded at all. I should say. There really wasn't that much change. I mean, I guess like a few new people signed up to go to the gym, but really, it hasn't really been. It hadn't been that crowded at all compared to the last few years, which is I think it was like one of the bigger recession indicators that I saw. Holiday products being sold year round is another thing. I've seen Christmas products. I've seen Halloween candy corn, candy corn, which I used to only see at the supermarket during October, is now a year long thing, and it has been a year long thing for a couple of years now. So I felt like that was also I feel like that's also a recession indicator that um holiday products are being sold year round. What else? What else? Tearing down old buildings. There was this old building when we first moved here. It was a Nathan's Fries and Arthur's Treachers. I don't know if that's still a thing or if anyone knows what that is, but it was like an old fish place. And it was open for like the first year that we moved to this place, this neighborhood, and it closed down maybe almost a year after we moved, and it was abandoned for an entire decade, 12 years. It was just sitting there, and recently they tore it down. And well, I think that most people would not see that as like a recession indicator. I had a theory that because there's like so few jobs now, they're just making work for people because this old building was there for so long that they just needed something to do. Because I didn't see any other reason why they would do it now, considering, like I said, it's been 12 years since it's been abandoned. I never thought it was that important, really. It was just there. It was like a little landmark, but yeah, it's gone now. They're building something there, and I have no idea what, but it's gone. And I think they're just making work for the construction workers now. I see a lot more damaged vehicles on the road now. It used to be that there wouldn't be so many damaged vehicles, but nowadays I see damaged vehicles everywhere. I was actually, it's like a little side story. I was on the bus back in May, and as the bus was going by, I saw this like van that was absolutely destroyed to shit. I don't know if it had been in an accident or if it caught fire or what, but this thing was destroyed. It was just sitting, like there's glass all over the place, and a part of the front had been torn off, and it was just sitting there in the middle of the road, in the middle of the street, and it was crazy. I didn't take a picture of it because I didn't think it was, it wasn't important, but it was crazy. But anyway, back to my point. Like I said, a lot of people, I think, nowadays are tending to drive older and more beat up cars than they used to. At the same time, I feel like I see a lot more sports cars, or have seen a lot more sports cars recently, which is strange. So I don't know if that counteracts my point, but I do see a lot more beat up cars. I see a lot more people from back when I was in school here, and back when I was in high school. I see a lot more people from when I was in high school back home, and it's not just like the usual people who haven't left, like me. There's just there's also a lot of rich kids who I now also see here for some reason. and I thought that was strange because I haven't seen these people in years, and all of a sudden they're here for some reason, and I felt that was very strange. Um, Obviously, I can't really. I assume it's not like a good idea to judge these people as to why they're back here, but I thought it was very strange because usually I think when you leave your hometown, you tend to just avoid it in general. But and I assume this has to do with the housing crisis, that they can't afford to stay away from home anymore, and that's probably why they're here in this boring ass town. But yeah, it is very strange, very odd to me. At the same time, I've also noticed that I barely see anyone outside anymore, and I go out for walks a lot. I like to get fresh air and whatnot. I tend to get very angry when I stay inside for too long. It's important to get fresh air and nature and all that. But recently, or maybe in the past few years, I noticed I've seen less and less people outside than I used to. And I think that, again, it has to do with people not being able to afford things like going out. That they're just avoiding staying outside and risking losing or having to spend money on things that they don't want to spend money on. So that was another thing I noticed. Physical media, I think, it's part also a recession indicator, because back in the day, streaming used to be more convenient compared to buying a CD or vinyl or DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. And now I think more people are buying physical media because it's cheaper than having to spend like $15-18 on Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever. I actually have my own DVD collection. I've showed you my CD collection already, so I'm not going to do that again. But I do have a DVD collection that I've been building up, and I'll just show that to you to prove my point. Yeah, so that took me a little bit to set up, but like I said, physical media, because it's cheaper than getting streaming services, even though my parents pay for that shit. Although I don't have HBO Max, so I have to get all my DC stuff here. I have a lot of Batman, as you can see. Superman, and Batman. This is one of my favorite movies. More Batman. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Batman Beyond. Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. More Batman. And that all is just because I do not want to spend money on streaming services of my own. Yeah, because it's just cheaper to have the one-time purchase. Yeah. The last thing I wanted to mention was people not getting into relationships, getting married, or having kids. I think this is the biggest recession indicator of them all, because how bad do things have to be for you to not have kids? And of course it is a personal choice, but I feel like that choice has kind of become out of people's hands now with how expensive everything is. So yeah, I'm not gonna get too much more into that because there are way too many videos explaining all of why people are not having kids or getting married or dating or whatever the fuck. So that's basically it. If you have any recession indicators of your own, you're welcome to leave it in the comments. So yeah. Also subscribe. Most people who watch this channel, like 99% of them, are not subscribed. So yeah, subscribe. Do it. See ya.